Hey folks, before we get started, make sure you follow Sky Alert USA so you never miss out on important weather updates like this one and future videos too. Support us by subscribing, liking and dropping a comment below. We really appreciate it. Major weather alert. Arctic blast grips North America as polar vortex collapse continues to impact United States and Canada. February 7th, 2026. Current weather situation across North America. Good evening, weather watchers. This is Sky Alert USA bringing you critical weather updates for Saturday, February 7th, 2026. North America is currently experiencing one of the most significant and prolonged winter weather patterns in recent years, with dangerous cold, heavy snowfall and powerful winds affecting millions from coast to coast. Today marks another chapter in what meteorologists are calling an exceptionally active and hazardous winter season, driven by a collapsing polar vortex and stratospheric warming event that continues to send Arctic air masses deep into the continental United States and Canada. Unprecedented winter storm season background. Before we dive into today's conditions and the three-day forecast, it's crucial to understand the context of what North America has already endured. Just 2 weeks ago, from January 23rd to 27th, 2026, a historic winter storm, unofficially named Winter Storm Fern, devastated a massive swathe of the continent, stretching nearly 2,000 miles from northern Mexico through the southern and northeastern United States and into Canada. This catastrophic storm system affected up to 230 million people, resulted in 153 confirmed deaths, caused over $4 billion in damages, and led to the cancellation or postponement of more than 10,000 flights nationwide. The impacts were staggering and record-breaking. In Toronto, Canada, Pearson International Airport recorded 46 centimeters of snow on a single day, the largest snowfall ever recorded at that location since records began in 1937. Downtown Toronto saw an astounding 61 centimeters accumulate. Philadelphia and New York City experienced their heaviest snowfall since February 2021. 24 U.S. state governors issued emergency declarations, and over 1 million customers lost power, primarily in the south, where a crippling ice storm caused power lines and trees to snap under the weight of accumulated ice. As we move through Saturday, February 7th, the weather story across North America remains dominated by extreme cold, active winter storm systems and dangerous wind conditions. A quick-moving clipper system is currently sweeping across the Great Lakes into the northeast and Appalachian regions, bringing widespread light to moderate snow showers accompanied by high winds and, dangerously cold temperatures. Across the northeast, winter weather advisories and warnings remain in effect for 15 states. The clipper system is producing snowfall accumulations, generally in the 1 to 3 inch range, but locally heavier amounts are being recorded downwind of Lakes Erie and Ontario, as well as through the central and southern Appalachians. Wind gusts are reaching dangerous levels. Forecasters are warning of winds between 50 to 55 miles per hour across areas of the northeast and New England today, creating whiteout conditions through blowing and drifting snow. In West Virginia, temperatures plummeted to a bone-chilling minus 27 degrees Fahrenheit this morning, according to the National Weather Service. New York State is experiencing significant lake-effect snow, with advisories covering much of western New York, including Niagara, Orleans, Erie, Chautauqua and Cattaraugus counties from 7 a.m. Friday through 7 p.m. Saturday, expecting 3 to 6 inches with areas of blowing snow. Along the Lake Ontario shoreline and inland zones from Monroe to Oswego and Ontario counties, advisories extend through Sunday morning with 4 to 7 inches expected as lake effect bands redevelop. Cold weather advisories blanket the region with over 71 million people under extreme cold warnings, meaning temperatures or wind chills are forecast to fall below 5 degrees Fahrenheit. More than 87 million people are under cold weather advisories where temperatures or wind chills are expected to reach 15 degrees or below. Wind chills in northern Vermont could drop to minus 40 degrees Fahrenheit, while northern and central New York, western Massachusetts, parts of New Hampshire, much of Vermont, and parts of Maine face wind chills of minus 30 degrees Fahrenheit. The central and southern Appalachians are bearing the brunt of heavy snowfall today. Garrett County, Maryland remains under a winter storm warning from 10 a.m. Friday to 7 a.m. Saturday, with 6 to 8 inches and wind gusts of 50 to 60 miles per hour likely to create significant drifting. Travel is especially hazardous on high-elevation stretches of Interstate 68. In the mountains of North Carolina, Avery, Madison, Mitchell and Yancey counties are under advisories with 1 to 4 inches expected across most elevations, but up to 7 inches possible along the Tennessee border. Wind gusts between 60 and 75 miles per hour along the highest ridgelines may bring down branches and create periods of drifting snow. Virginia's southwest mountains, including Tazewell, Smith, Bland, Giles, Grayson, Craig, Allegheny and Bath counties, face advisories with snowfall ranging from 1 to 6 inches, strongest along the highest peaks, with winds reaching 60 miles per hour. Road conditions are deteriorating quickly in bursts of blowing snow, and the risk of isolated tree damage increases as wind gusts peak. The Great Lakes region continues to experience dangerous conditions, with wind gusts of 30 to 40 miles per hour today. Lake effect snow is still active, especially in Michigan's Upper Peninsula, where Keweenaw, Ontonagon, Northern Houghton and Gogebic counties had advisories through 10 a.m. Friday, with up to 3 inches of snow and gusts hitting 40 miles per hour. Marquette County's advisory lasted until 10 in the morning, while Alger County continued until 7 p.m., expecting 1 to 4 inches and widespread blowing snow. Across Ohio, winter weather advisories stretch from Cincinnati through Dayton and Columbus, bringing 1 to 2 inches and slick travel, especially during both morning and evening commutes. Northeast Ohio, including Cleveland, Lake, Ashtabula, Summit and Portage counties, faces advisories too, with 2 to 4 inches and gusts up to 45 miles per hour. Wyoming is seeing, more favorable conditions today compared to other regions, though folks are still dealing with some strong winds. In Cheyenne, it's mostly sunny and windy, with a high near 60 degrees Fahrenheit and wind gusts as high as 45 miles per hour. Wheatland is looking at mostly sunny and breezy conditions, with a high near 64 and gusts reaching 40 miles per hour. Up in Buffalo, they're reporting partly sunny and breezy weather, a high near 59, and gusts up to 28 miles per hour. Even the traditionally warm southern states are not escaping this Arctic grip. Florida, whose official seal features the sun, palm trees and a seagull, experienced freezing temperatures reaching into the 30s and 40s across the Sunshine State this morning. The Florida Panhandle even saw temperatures drop below freezing. Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, another warm weather destination, is bracing for impacts, though the city doesn't have any snow removal equipment, and, according to Mayor Mark Cruer, authorities are planning to use what we can find. Canada's ongoing winter crisis just keeps on rolling. Right now, the country is battling multiple weather systems all at once, and folks are still dealing with the aftermath of some pretty devastating storms. Environment Canada has put out special weather statements for Toronto and much of southern Ontario, warning everyone to expect more snow by Friday and the return of, well, some very cold wind chills through the weekend. The long-range forecast into mid-February, it's still calling for temperatures colder than normal across Ontario, which means that big snowpack from previous storms is going to stick around for quite a while. Out east, Atlantic Canada is bracing for yet another powerful winter storm. That's the third nor'easter in just 3 weeks. Parts of eastern Newfoundland are under an orange storm warning from Environment Canada, and that's set to last all the way through Tuesday morning. Folks on the Avalon and Burin peninsulas can expect between 35 and 50 centimetres of snow by Tuesday, along with wind gusts up to 100 kilometres per hour. That's going to create poor visibility and some pretty dangerous travel conditions. According to Jason Shepherd, a meteorologist with Environment Canada, those cold temperatures mean the snow should be light and fine, which makes it real easy for those strong winds to whip it up into blowing snow and severely reduce visibility. This storm is really just a continuation of what's been an exceptionally active pattern for the maritime provinces. So, what's actually driving this relentless pattern of extreme cold and all these active winter storms? Well, meteorologists are pointing to a major stratospheric warming event and a polar vortex collapse that's happening right now. New forecasts are confirming a polar vortex split and collapse around mid-February, right after this stratospheric warming event. The latest predictions are showing a breakdown of the polar circulation, which is going to create a prolonged cold weather pattern across North America and Europe. There are already early signs that this could stick around into early spring. Now, even though the main collapse is expected mid-month, both the United States and Canada are already feeling the early effects of a pre-split disruption. There's a deformed, elongated polar vortex core that's pushing cold anomalies into the central and eastern United States, with temperatures in some regions forecast to drop 30 degrees Fahrenheit below normal. And to make things even more complicated, the 2026 stratospheric warming event is running into some atmospheric interference. That's a collision with the Madden-Julian oscillation, a powerful tropical atmospheric wave. This clash is temporarily shielding parts of the central and eastern United States from the full force of the stratospheric collapse, so we're seeing a period of above-normal temperatures in the western two-thirds of the country, even as the polar vortex is breaking apart way up in the atmosphere. But this interference isn't expected to last, and forecasters are saying the connection between the stratosphere and the surface will re-establish, which could open the door to new rounds of severe cold air in late February and into early March. All right, let's take a look at the 3-day forecast for February 8th through 10th, 2026. On Sunday, February 8th, we're going to see the Clipper system's impacts continue across the northeast, though the storm will start pulling away from the coastline. Lake effect snowbands will redevelop behind the front, especially downwind of Lakes Erie and Ontario. Over in eastern Rensselaer County, New York, there's an advisory from 7 p.m. Friday through 7 p.m. Saturday for 3 to 5 inches. With the highest totals expected on the Rensselaer Plateau. The extreme cold isn't going anywhere, with dangerously cold wind chills sticking around across much of the northern tier of states. More than 9 million people remain under extreme cold watches, with conditions expected to stay below 5 degrees Fahrenheit across huge areas. The National Weather Service is really emphasizing that frostbite can happen fast in these conditions, and staying out in the cold too long is a serious health risk, especially in places still dealing with power issues from earlier storms. Out west, the United States will continue to see warmer than average temperatures, especially in the northern and central plains, as a high-pressure anomaly brings a strong wave of above-normal temps into the western and central United States and southwestern Canada. This dramatic temperature contrast, with some areas 30 degrees below normal while others are well above, really shows how disrupted and amplified the weather pattern is, thanks to that polar vortex disturbance. For Canada, Sunday means ongoing impacts from the Atlantic storm system. Nova Scotia and Newfoundland will keep seeing heavy snow and dangerous winds, with schools and government offices expected to stay closed across affected regions. Halifax Stanfield Airport might keep experiencing delays and even temporary suspensions of operations due to poor airfield conditions. Now, moving to Monday, February 9th, 2026. Monday marks a transition day as the current Clipper system exits the northeast and new weather systems start to organize. A shortwave will move into the Pacific Northwest, helping to spread increasing precipitation across the Intermountain West early in the week. Energy moving downstream from the northern plains to the Great Lakes and northeast will bring the potential for mainly light precipitation. Temperature moderation will start creeping into the east as the pattern begins to shift, though one more day of chilly temps will hang on in the mid-Atlantic and northeast before the warming trend really takes hold. The split upper flow pattern will feature a southern stream low over northern Mexico and ridging farther north across the west. In Texas, light to moderate rain is forecast early in the week. As the supporting shortwave gets absorbed and a front moves slowly through the Ohio Valley, this will focus precipitation in that area by around Tuesday, possibly reaching the east coast by midweek. Some mixed precipitation and snow are possible across the northern part of the precip shield, but honestly, the details for wintry precipitation are still pretty uncertain at this range. For Canada, Monday brings a bit of relief to the Atlantic provinces as the latest nor'easter finally moves offshore. But clean-up and recovery efforts will definitely continue, with many communities still digging out from multiple feet of accumulated snow. Western Canada, especially British Columbia, will start to see increasing Pacific moisture as storm systems approach from the west. Finally, Tuesday, February 10th, 2026. Tuesday will bring continued evolution of the weather pattern, with the ridge bringing much above average temperatures to the central United States, and temperature moderation continuing into the east as the week goes on. After a long dry spell for many western areas, precipitation will spread from the Pacific Northwest and across the west through the week as troughing builds in. The front moving through the Ohio Valley will likely bring a mix of rain and maybe some wintry precipitation to the region, with the precipitation shield possibly stretching toward the east coast. Northern areas might see some snow or mixed precipitation, but again, the details are still up in the air. The overall pattern suggests a temporary break from the extreme cold for many areas, though winter is definitely not over yet. In Canada, we'll see a split pattern, with the west beginning to receive Pacific moisture as rain for coastal areas and snow for interior British Columbia at higher elevations. The prairies will stay cold, but relatively quiet. Eastern Canada will continue recovery from recent storms, while keeping a close eye out for the next weather system. The prolonged extreme cold poses serious health risks that honestly cannot be overstated. Experts are warning about the growing dangers of hypothermia and frostbite, especially down south, where, some folks just don't have warm enough clothing. Dr. David Nestler, an emergency medicine specialist at the Mayo Clinic in Minnesota, has emphasized that frostbite is a significant concern in southern regions during this Arctic outbreak. More than 100 people have died from Texas to New Jersey in recent winter storms, with about half of those fatalities happening in Tennessee, Mississippi, and Louisiana. While some of these deaths have been directly tied to hypothermia, others are suspected to be related to carbon monoxide exposure from improper use of heating devices. The National Weather Service warns that any time cold weather advisories or extreme cold warnings are in effect, it's just plain dangerous to be outside, and frostbite can set in quickly. For those still without power from previous storms, staying in unheated homes during this kind of cold can be life-threatening. Tens of thousands of homes and businesses are still without electricity. And with these continued cold temperatures, indoor temperatures can become dangerous in no time. Emergency response and resources are being pushed to the limit. Federal, state and local emergency management agencies are still coordinating massive response efforts. FEMA has set up several distribution centres across the south and east, and they're stocked with over 7 million meals, more than 3 million litres of water, over 650,000 blankets, and more than 180 generators. 12 emergency declarations were approved by President Trump, allowing states to request federal expertise and resources to help protect and save lives, property, public health, and safety. States, working with the American Red Cross and other voluntary organizations, have opened shelters and warming centers to help folks affected by these winter storms. For those who've lost power and can safely travel, warming centers are available. You can text shelter and your zip code to 43362, use the American Red Cross shelter map, or download the FEMA app to find the nearest facility. Travel impacts and warnings are, still in full effect. Travel remains extremely dangerous across the affected areas. The National Weather Service Prediction Centre is warning everyone about hazardous travel conditions this weekend due to snow squalls and blowing snow. Road conditions can go downhill real fast in these bursts of blowing snow, and we've seen hundreds of accidents reported across multiple states. In Virginia alone, over 440 car crashes were reported during recent storm events, and sadly, that's resulted in multiple injuries and fatalities. In Tennessee, Nashville city transportation officials have only 45 snowplows to clear hundreds of miles of roads, and once things shift from snow to sleet, those plows just aren't as effective. Icy conditions after the snowfall make roads treacherous even after the snow stops falling. Air travel is also taking a hit, with significant disruptions continuing. While it's not quite at the scale of the 10,000 plus cancellations during the late January storm, hundreds of flights are being cancelled or delayed every day, especially at the major hubs in the northeast and midwest. Looking ahead, let's talk about the extended forecast implications. Beyond the 3-day forecast period, meteorologists are watching the evolution of the stratospheric warming event and the polar vortex collapse very closely. The extended range forecasts for weeks 3 and 4, so that's late February into early March, are showing signals of those high-pressure anomalies pulling northward, with low-pressure areas returning over the northern and eastern United States. This pattern honestly suggests a real possibility of renewed Arctic outbreaks and more winter storm activity as we move through the second half of February. The Climate Prediction Centre's outlook for mid-February shows above normal temperatures just about everywhere except the far west, including California and the most western parts of Nevada and Arizona. But the longer-range forecast, 1 to 3 months out, predicts average weather for most of the United States, which means that while we might get a taste of warmer air here and there, winter's not quite ready to let go just yet. Saturday, February 7th, 2026, marks another significant day in what's shaping up to be one of the most challenging winter seasons in recent North American history. From the deadly impacts of Winter Storm Fern just 2 weeks ago to today's ongoing Arctic blast and the looming threat of more winter storms, millions of people are dealing with dangerous cold, heavy snow, and hazardous conditions. The science behind this extreme pattern, the polar vortex collapse and stratospheric warming event, suggests that winter's intensity may stick around into early spring. While there will be some temporary warm-ups, the overall pattern remains, well, pretty hostile and dangerous. For folks in the affected areas, the message from meteorologists and emergency management officials is clear. Take this seriously. Stay informed through your local weather services, avoid unnecessary travel, check on vulnerable neighbors, and make sure you have emergency supplies on hand. Whether you're in the snow-buried northeast, the ice-impacted south, or the storm-battered Canadian Maritimes, this winter demands respect, preparation, and vigilance. Stay safe, stay warm, and keep it tuned to Sky Alert USA for continued updates as this historic winter weather pattern keeps unfolding across North America. Remember to monitor your local National Weather Service office for the most up-to-date information specific to your area. And never hesitate to take protective action